The throne world of Vader's 9 was not built for humility. Its spires rose like knives into the thinning light of a dying star, plated in obsidian and gold. Whole cities clung to its orbital lattice, serving the will of a single man, if man was the right word for something that had lived 2 centuries and fed on entire civilizations. Captain Elias Kale stood inside the Imperial Palace's grand corridor, helmet under his arm, boots clicking against flawless black stone. Around him marched the other Praetorians, silent in their armor. No one spoke. Silence was their language, discipline their creed. To the galaxy, they were enigmas. The Emperor's chosen guard. Swift, merciless, incorruptible. What the galaxy did not know, what could never be known, was that every one of them was human. Elias felt the irony bite every time the Emperor sneered at Earth. He called humans prey animals, a fragile species from a death world barely worth annexing. And yet here he was, flanked by human soldiers who had mastered the very art of survival he mocked. "Captain," a voice murmured on a private comm line. It was Harker, one of his lieutenants, his accent still rough with Earth's guttural tones despite years of training. "Another council summons. Emperor wants spectacle." "Understood." Elias's reply was curt, his face unreadable. He knew what this meant. Another stage, another declaration. The Emperor lived for his theater. The guards approached the Hall of Radiance, its doors towering 20 meters high, carved with the faces of conquered worlds. They parted soundlessly at the Emperor's approach. Vader's 9 entered in a swirl of crimson robes, bio-augmented flesh gleaming faintly beneath translucent skin. His eyes burned with a cold blue fire. "My Praetorians," the Emperor declared, his voice echoing unnaturally as palace amplifiers carried it across the vaulted chamber. "Tonight we remind the galaxy of its order. And tomorrow—" He paused, lips curling into something between a smile and a snarl. "Tomorrow we name our next conquest." Elias bowed his head, hiding the tightening of his jaw. He already knew which planet the Emperor meant. Rumors had spread through the palace like wildfire. Earth. Humanity had clawed its way to galactic relevance too quickly, unsettling the old order. To Vader's, that could not be tolerated. One of the alien nobles shuffled forward, a lean insectoid with jeweled mandibles. "Your Radiance." It clicked. "The Council will protest. Humanity has representation, weak though it may be. Some houses even trade with them. Is open war wise?" The Emperor did not look at the noble. He raised a hand, and Elias stepped forward without command, gauntlet fingers wrapping the hilt of his ceremonial blade. The insectoid fell silent, quivering. "They will protest, yes," Vader said, his tone almost amused. "And then they will applaud when I prove their fears unfounded. Humanity is nothing. A weed choking fertile soil. I will burn it down before it spreads further." A ripple of agreement passed through the assembled courtiers, though Elias saw the hesitation in their eyes. Many had learned not to cross the Emperor, but fear was not loyalty. "Captain Kale." The Emperor's sudden address snapped Elias from his thoughts. He stepped forward, kneeling on one knee. "My liege. You were born of Earth stock, were you not?" The question was bait. Elias had prepared for it. He kept his voice even, his words rehearsed. "My ancestry is distant, Emperor. Generation ships spread our kind wide. I serve only the throne." The Emperor studied him with an almost predatory intensity, then laughed, sharp and humorless. "Even the scattered remnants of that fragile species recognize strength when they see it." Laughter echoed from the courtiers. Elias rose and returned to formation, his pulse steady only through practiced control. He could feel Harker's silent tension at his side. That single question had been a blade's edge. Too much honesty, and Earth's secret defenders would be exposed. The audience ended in typical pomp. The Emperor dismissed his courtiers with a wave, and the guards fell into silent formation. But as they returned to their barracks, Harker caught Elias's eye. "He's circling closer," Harker muttered under his breath, careful to keep his words hidden from recording drones. "It's only a matter of time before he names Earth outright." Elias removed his gloves slowly, deliberately. "Then we prepare." Later that night, Elias stood alone on a balcony overlooking the throne world's endless city lights. Beyond them stretched the void, stars scattered like embers in cooling ash. Somewhere out there was Earth, small, stubborn, unbroken. He remembered his childhood there, harsh winters, empty rations, the smell of rusted steel from factories that had been converted to shipyards when war loomed. Humanity had bled for its place among the stars, clawing survival from every battle. And now, despite all of it, an emperor thought he could declare them weak. A soft hiss of hydraulics announced another presence. A woman's voice, low and controlled, spoke behind him. Lieutenant Mara Valen, another human, another secret Praetorian. You know he'll declare it tomorrow. Elias didn't turn. His eyes stayed fixed on the stars. Yes. You think the council will follow? They'll hesitate. But power bends knee to theater. And he is nothing if not a performer. Elias's tone was cold steel. When he says Earth is weak, they'll pretend to believe him, because it's safer than opposing him. And us? Mara asked. Elias finally turned, his expression unreadable. We remain shadows until the moment shadows no longer suffice. Morning came with ceremony. The Hall of Radiance was prepared for broadcast. Hollow projectors shimmered with images of conquered worlds, crowds filling the tiers, courtiers glittering in silks and jewels. Every star system with a pulse would hear what was spoken today. The Praetorians lined the dais, faceless in polished helmets, perfect in formation. Elias took his place at the Emperor's right hand. As the chamber hushed, Vader's rose. His voice rolled like thunder, amplified across the palace, across the throne world, across the galaxy. Citizens of the Empire! Tomorrow, a frail world will tremble beneath our banners. A planet that mistakes its stubbornness for strength. A people who believe survival equals greatness. His words dripped venom, and the chamber drank it eagerly. Elias's grip tightened imperceptibly on the hilt of his blade. He did not need to hear the name. He knew it. The Emperor spread his arms wide. Earth. The vermin rock. The weed in the garden. Soon it will bow. Gasps rippled through the assembly. Some cheered, others whispered. The courtiers' jeweled eyes darted toward the Praetorians, perhaps sensing irony, perhaps too afraid to name it. Elias's heart pounded, steady as a war drum. His mind raced, not with fear, but with calculation. The game had begun. Humanity had been named. He did not flinch. He did not speak. He simply stood guard, silent and unyielding, as the Emperor condemned his world. And in that silence lay the truth the galaxy had yet to learn. The Emperor's life, his empire, his illusion of invincibility, rested entirely in human hands. The Holonet countdown bled away to a single, silent breath. Vader's 9 stepped into the column of light at center dais, robes whispering like spilled wine. The Hall of Radiance vanished behind a field of projected banners, conquered crests dissolving into the imperial sigil. Every lens turned toward him, every world tuned in. The galaxy liked its tyrants theatrical. Elias Kale stood a half-step behind and right, helm sealed. The Praetorians bristled along the dais edge, a glinting wall of discipline. Within the visor, his HUD mapped the chamber, heat signatures layered over architecture, exit vectors, micro-drone traffic. The palace's security lattice pulsed green, until 3 nodes flickered amber near the upper colonnade. He tagged them with a blink. Harker's acknowledgement chimed, a single, sharp tone. My empire! The Emperor began, voice deepened by resonance arrays until it felt carved into stone. You tire of gnats! He let the word fall, savored the hush. Earth postures. It has forgotten its place. Murmurs swelled across the tiers, not all friendly. Trade houses with human contracts glanced at each other. A robed prelate made a sign against ill luck. Even among sycophants, war meant risk. Elias watched the colonnade. The amber node steadied. Harmless, then, at least for now. He shifted 1 millimeter, enough for Mara to read his mood. She didn't look at him, but her gauntlet flexed once. Ready. Vader's lifted a hand. Lights along the ceiling dimmed. A battle's tape unfurled in the air, a simulation of Earth's orbit choked with Imperial ships. The audience gasped on cue. "Observe," the Emperor said. "A weed learns to mimic a tree. We prune." Elias felt the word like grit between teeth. He forced the reaction down and rewired it into attention. The HUD flagged a new anomaly, heat blooming where it shouldn't, behind the eastern frieze, above the ambassadorial gallery. Too small for a person. Too hot for ambient. "Pack it," he subvocalized. The suit scraped a sliver of palace spectrum and spat the result into his view, a thin thread of unauthorized bandwidth, braided through choir channel noise. Clever. A ghost transmission piggybacking on the chamber's hymn. Source? Harker. Freeze vent. Quiet approach. No footprint. Mara. Microswarm? Or marker for a larger play, Elias said. Vaders paced the dais, robes catching the light. "They think survival is strength. They mistake tenacity for dominion. I will teach them meaning." A ripple of approval rolled the tiers. Elias tracked eyes instead of hands, who leaned forward, who stiffened. A silver guild envoy from House RIR tapped a ring against his armrest in fast, irritated beats. One of the insectoid princes held perfectly still, too still. Waiting for a signal, or holding his breath? Elias flicked a cursor toward the frieze. A wafer-thin slice of visor view filed under the palace's maintenance feeds. In the lattice of vent fins, something skittered, hex-legged, black, half-melted into shadow. Its carapace flashed once in IR. He'd bleed. "God, you," he breathed. "Authorization?" Harker asked. "None." Elias marked it for capture. "Pattern reads adaptive. Not palace make." Mara's tone flattened. "Foreign up inside the hall on broadcast day. That's either lunacy or permission. Assume both." Vaders stopped at the dais edge. The image of Earth hung above his palm like a toy. He closed his fingers. The projection shattered into a glittering rain and reformed as kneeling silhouettes. "We will bring them to heel without scarring the garden. Swiftly. Surgically." He wanted the word. Clean. He was telling the council he could make this cheap. He was telling the dissidents he had knives sharper than armies. Elias checked the Praetorian stack. 12 guards on line, 2 in reserve, 3 embedded in crowd tiers under diplomatic cloaks. He saw through their eyes in compressed bursts, faces, jewels, handheld nodes, a small child on someone's lap. No, not a child, a disguised sensor cluster built into a lap pet's skull. He flagged it, pushed a silent route to a floor warden. 2 ushers crossed the aisle within seconds and kindly removed the pet, faces tight with practiced politeness. The frieze crawler moved. It raised a spine tail and cut a hair-thin line into the vent mesh. The heat signature dropped, then rose again in a spike. It wasn't trying to hide now. It had finished hiding. "Trigger incoming," Elias said. He shifted weight, just enough to release the lock on his shoulder carbine's internal sling. The motion read as a breath. Vaders spread his arms. "There are those in this hall who call Earth useful. They peddle in sentiment." His eyes gleamed beneath their augment sheen. "They forget utility ends when defiance begins." A steward near the ambassadorial gallery glanced up as if hearing a whisper. Then his eyes glazed, compromised. The frieze vent blew a breath of dust. The microdrone dropped like a seed. Elias moved. It was not dramatic. It was precise. He took one step forward, pivoted, and let the carbine's magnetic clamp spit the weapon into his hands. A single suppressed round cracked the air. The microdrone shattered into motes inches above the steward's collar. No one screamed. The crowd did not yet understand. A second shape slipped from the vent, larger, shaped like a shard of night. Elias lined the shot. Harker's bolt took it first, pinning the thing to the marble with a hiss. The creature spasmed, unfolded wings of filament, and died in a curl of smoke. The chamber shuddered. For a heartbeat, the holonet feed flickered. Then the palace arrays masked the interruption with a sweep of patriotic light. Most citizens watching from 1,000 systems saw nothing but spectacle. Vedras didn't turn. His voice never faltered. You see what scurries when light is cast. So he had known something might happen. He built it into the performance. Elias filed the anger where he kept every other useful blade. He glanced toward the insectoid prince. The mandibles clicked once. Annoyance, or communication? A green-robed prelate wiped sweat from a brow ridge with trembling fingers. Across the aisle, the silver guild envoy had stopped tapping. He stared at the Praetorians as if seeing them for the first time. Mara's whisper filled Elias's ear. East Service Corridor. 2 signatures. Mast? Cut them off, Elias said. On it. He split the feed, half the HUD on stage, half following Mara's POV as she slipped through an access slot behind the choir risers. Pipes, ducts, the faint hum of coolant, then a shadow at the corridor bend, shaped like a person but wrong in the angles. It moved with insect economy. Mara didn't break stride. 2 steps, kneel, fire. The silhouette twisted, lost momentum, folded to the floor like dropped cloth. The second signature flared and bolted. Harker was already there, massive and quiet for his size. He let the runner pass him, then hooked a forearm under its neck and pinned it to a pillar. The disguise veil stuttered and died. Underneath, a human face, gaunt, bruised by fear. Don't, the man rasped. You think you serve him, but you serve. Harker tightened. Quiet. Elias arrived a breath later, leaving 2 guards to cover the dais. He took in the scene, the fallen drone carrier, a human saboteur, palace censors pretending not to see. Someone had turned the palace's sight aside, someone with authority. You're from the council's shadow caucus, Elias said. Which house? The man smiled with cracked lips. The house that wants your world spared. By murdering stewards? Harker's voice was ice. By proving he's weak. By making him slip. The saboteur turned his eyes on Elias. You know what you are to him. Tools. He calls your people vermin. When he falls. Elias leaned in. When he falls, what happens to the worlds he keeps from devouring each other through fear alone? Who holds the empire while the knives settle? Silence. The man swallowed. He didn't have an answer. He had desperation and a cause. He had risked his life to shake a tyrant in front of the galaxy, and had been folded into a pillar for it. Elias nodded once to Harker. Hold him. Quietly. He returned to the dais in time to hear the Emperor's closing cadence. And so Earth will enter our peace, and learn its true measure. The last word hung like a blade over a neck. Tomorrow, the council convenes. Tomorrow we vote. The hall erupted. Applause, protests, coded whistles, the layered noise of power pretending to be chorus. The holonet feed panned across the Praetorians, lingering on polished visors. Somewhere out there, on a blue planet layered in cloud, families watched the delay stream and felt their throats tighten. Vedras turned slightly, enough to let his voice reach Elias without losing the audience. Efficient work. Elias did not look at him. Your security lattice was compromised from within. A necessary tolerance, the Emperor said. A performance is dull if nothing attempts to interrupt. Bodies tend to object to being set dressing, Elias said flat. Vedras's lips curved. You speak like a man who believes he is indispensable. I speak like a man who keeps you breathing. For the first time all afternoon, the Emperor's eyes truly focused on him. A long, cold measure. Then the smile returned, soft as poison. Tomorrow, Captain. See that tomorrow remains. The audience began to spill into corridors, a glittering river of politics. The Praetorians held position until the first rows cleared. Elias opened a private channel. 3 take the saboteur to Black Wing, he said. No record. Mara, trace the choir channel piggyback. I want the coder who laid that braid. And if the trail ends in the palace? Mara asked. Then we cut inward. Harker exhaled. Council meets at second bell. Houses will posture. Some will threaten trade withdrawal. They'll return. Elias said. They always return. Power dislikes vacuum. He looked up into the dark ribbing of the hall and saw the vent's ragged cut. He imagined the thin line extended through systems, from black market coders to grand houses, from hush-money clerks to prelates who had lost heirs to imperial appetites. A web of motive, taut and invisible. He also saw, with painful clarity, another line, from a tenement balcony on earth where a boy had learned to breathe cold air, to a dais where he now stood while his world was dressed for conquest. Vaders lifted his hands one final time, soaking in the adoration that followed terror. The holonet feed dimmed. Lights rose. The stage exhaled. Tomorrow, Elias repeated, but to himself this time. Not a promise. A measurement. A window you could miss if you blinked. He turned to the guards. We move! And the wall of human steel flowed from the dais like a single, silent intention, leaving behind the echo of a tyrant's vow and the faint smell of something burned that should never have been lit. The council chamber was a sphere of glass and grav anchors suspended above the throne world's core spire. Beneath it burned the dying star, a swollen ember bleeding red across the void. Around it floated banners of 100 houses, each shimmering with emblems, each masking ambition with ceremony. The Praetorians stood like statues at the emperor's back. Elias Kale's pulse was steady, but his mind was sharpened to a blade's edge. He had felt it since dawn, pressure building, threads tightening. Today was not about votes or speeches. Today someone would try to sever the throne itself. Vaders 9 began his address with the arrogance of inevitability. Great houses, I bring clarity where hesitation has festered. Earth defies order. It spreads beneath your trade routes like mold. Weakness emboldens it. Tomorrow, weakness dies. Ripples crossed the chamber. Some houses cheered. Others murmured unease. Elias didn't watch them. He watched air currents disturbed by cloaks, eyes darting toward shadows, a tremor of motion near the delegate tiers. He felt the storm before it struck. The lights faltered. Just a flicker, enough to hush the room. Then came the sound, a chime, melodic and wrong. The kind of signal no one expected in sacred space. From the upper gallery, 3 figures burst through veils of distortion. Not drones this time. Assassins. Their armor shimmered with alien alloys, blades of condensed plasma flashing to life. The Emperor did not flinch. He loved drama too much. But the courtiers screamed, and chaos rolled like thunder. Elias moved first. His carbine snapped from the mag clamp, spitting controlled bursts. One assassin's shimmer collapsed into sparks as he slammed into a barrier. The second dove, spinning, blade carving arcs of violet light. Elias parried with a gauntlet shield, sparks hissing inches from his throat. Cover left! Harker roared. His bulk intercepted the third assassin mid-leap, slamming him into the floor hard enough to crack marble. The chamber erupted. Guards of other houses scrambled, nobles shrieked. The Emperor stood framed in firelight as if waiting for the holonet to resume. Mara vaulted a railing, caught the second assassin's wrist, and twisted until bone shattered. Her blade punched through his chest plate in one clean thrust. He convulsed, armor flickering, then fell silent. Elias caught the first attacker's recovery. Too fast for most species, not fast enough for him. A sweep of the carbine but crushed the visor. The assassin collapsed, gasping in a language Elias recognized, human dialect, old, desperate. Not alien mercenaries. Humans. The chamber froze for Elias, just a heartbeat of clarity. Humans used against humans. Puppets in someone else's theater. Finish it, Harker growled, pinning the third. His visor splattered with blood. Elias pressed the carbine to the broken helmet. Who sent you? The man spat crimson. The houses will not kneel. Earth cannot stand alone. A whisper meant for Elias alone. Then the assassin bit down. A wet crack, a hiss of toxin. His body convulsed and stilled. Elias stood slowly, blood pounding in his ears. Around them, nobles gaped, whispers coiled like smoke. The Praetorians had moved with impossible speed, precision beyond anything the galaxy expected from mortal flesh. They had moved like one species, one origin. The realization dawned across the chamber in terrified silence. Vader spread his arms, robes swirling. Behold! Even terror serves me. Even traitors break on the blades of my chosen. The words rang hollow now. Everyone had seen too clearly. The Emperor's Praetorians were not faceless enigmas. They were human. The council erupted in shouts. Some demanded inquiry. Others clamored for Earth's immediate destruction. A few, the sharpest, stared at Elias with new understanding. Vader's turned, eyes narrowing. Captain Kale. You and yours, interesting display. His voice was low, dangerous. I selected my guard for strength beyond origin. Tell me, is there something I should know of yours? Elias removed his helmet. Gasps echoed. His human face reflected in every polished surface. He let the silence stretch, let the truth settle. You call Earth weak, he said, voice carrying across the chamber without amplification. Yet every day, every hour, you've trusted your life to Earth's sons and daughters. To the very species you mock. Vader's lips twitched, searching for command. But the courtiers were not watching him now. They watched the humans in armor, their discipline, their survival written in every scar. You wanted Earth broken, Elias continued. But Earth endures. We always endure. You can call us vermin, prey, weeds. The truth is simpler, we outlast. The Emperor's voice cracked like a whip. Silence! But the chamber was not silent. Voices rose, fear, anger, calculation. House leaders whispered to aides, weighing this new revelation. If the Emperor's invincible guard were all human, then perhaps humanity was not weak at all. Perhaps it was the axis of his strength. Elias met Vader's gaze without flinching. Without us you bleed. Without us your throne is empty marble. You made your empire believe in your power, but it was ours carrying you. For a heartbeat, raw fury crossed the Emperor's face. He could not kill Elias here. Not before the council. Not after what they had seen. To silence him now would prove every word. The moment stretched. A tyrant calculating survival. A soldier standing with nothing left to lose. Then Vader smiled, thin and venomous. Then perhaps Earth has earned the privilege of closer chains. The courtiers erupted again, some jeering, some shouting objection. The chamber was in uproar, and for the first time in memory, the Emperor did not command it. Elias sealed his helmet once more. The Praetorians closed ranks. They did not salute. They did not bow. They stood, unyielding, the weight of the galaxy's gaze upon them. In that silence, the balance shifted. Humanity, once dismissed as frail, now stood revealed as the blade behind the throne. The irony was complete. And the galaxy would never forget.